One of the biggest problems, specifically for martial artists that are that own their schools, is to kind of backtrack what I was saying. They need to lead by example. A real common problem with a lot of career martial artists, including myself, is we don't always get in enough training for ourselves. We're not always growing ourselves because we're so busy doing the day-to-day of everything. After all the classes we teach, all the administrative work you got to do, there's not a lot of time left for maybe your own training. So that's something we have to force ourselves to stay on top of our own game, to keep learning, keep growing, but also stay in shape. So once again, we're setting a good example for our instructors under us, for our students under us. So I've had to be really cognizant of devoting some time just to try to squeeze it into my own personal development. And then with your staff, that's tricky because you definitely need a good system in place, but we have to remember that each one of those instructors, or in my case, staff members under me, they're also unique individuals with all their own unique goals too. So I have to treat them all a little differently to a certain degree. There's no favoritisms, but we have to remember they're each individual people. So they're all going to have their own buttons and their own goals. And I have to, we have the greater goal of having the school grow, the students benefit, but I have to also be cognizant of what are their own personal goals, what do they want to accomplish, and tailor their what they do to match those goals as well. It's not just about me. It's not just about the students. Although the students are priority number one, I have to factor in what their personal goals are and orient that towards them. And they all have their own unique personalities. They all get pushed by certain buttons, so you have to treat them to a certain degree all a little differently. And that's just, you say that about treating human beings in general that way.
You're listening to Lead with Dr. Ralph Hughes, leadership thought leader, author, and keynote speaker.
Hello, everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us for another insightful episode. This podcast is dedicated to bringing issues to light that hinder people in leadership positions and offers best practices from organizational leaders who got it right and industry experts who can share their perspectives. Today, we talk about leading in the martial arts industry. What the? Sorry, I couldn't resist. Guiding us through this discussion and providing invaluable insight, I am honored to introduce our esteemed guest. With over 43 years in the martial arts industry, our guest is the owner and lead instructor at Krav Maga Worldwide Fort Lauderdale, Florida branch, where he has been teaching Krav Maga since 2001. He is a black belt and certified expert instructor. He is also a Federation of Israeli Martial Arts certified instructor and regional representative. He is also a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, 2nd degree black belt in American Kempo Karate, a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a combatives belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He has also trained and cornered both amateur and professional fighters in mixed martial arts. Please help me welcome Master Randall Koch. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my honor and pleasure having you on the show. I appreciate that. Now, I know I briefly read your bio, but share us a little bit about your background. Who is Master Randall Koch?
Well, I'm definitely not a master, so don't call me that, but I've been training a long time. So my background was originally in Taekwondo, so it's kind of the family got me started. So my father, I have an older brother. We all did Taekwondo when I was 5 years old, and my father had recently retired from the Army. He was a career Army, did about 20 years, retired as a Special Forces major, and he dabbled in and out with martial arts when he was in the military, and he wanted to get back into it. So he got my brother and I involved, and our original Taekwondo instructor was a pastor at a Baptist church, and that's where the Taekwondo classes, the Taekwondo club was. Well, he got relocated to another place, and so we kind of got orphaned. My dad was the only black belt at the time at that club underneath that instructor. So I guess he's like, I guess I have to take over now. And it kind of turned into the family business, and it just went from there. So that's kind of my origins story, basically.
Well, I appreciate that. Impressive background. And again, Technically, I know you're not a master. You don't hold the certification of a master, but in my eyes, you have always been and will always be a master. I mean, look, I know some
Thank you.
masters. Oh, because I know some masters. And you know what? I think either you're on their level or you have surpassed some of them who actually hold the certification of master. And I'm not just saying that. I was about to ask you, how is Shadow?
Shadow's good. Shadow wants to say hi. Here's Shadow. Say hi to everyone. There we go. There's our mascot. Anyways, she's good.
Yeah, tell
About
us the story about Shadow. You adopted Shadow, empowering story as well.
Yeah, so about it's been over 4 years now. We found Shadow wandering around out in the parking lot in front of our Krav Maga school, and she was only 6 weeks old at the time, so she was tiny. Her whole body fit into my whole hand, and so we couldn't leave her out there. So basically, just grabbed her, scooped her up, threw her in the school, and when that happened, I was like, oh, I guess I have a cat now. And so before that, what was interesting, her predecessor Penelope, she passed away about 6 months
Mhm.
before that, and so of course people asked me, oh, you're going to get another cat, another pet. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to. I'm kind of mourning. I said, unless a cat just happens to show up at my doorstep, I'm not going to have a cat. Well, lo and behold, basically a cat shows up at my doorstep, and it's even crazier is she's an all black cat, and she shows up a few days before Halloween. And so it's almost like the
Wow.
universe saying, look, you need another cat, so somebody to keep you company. So we kind of found each other. I think we're both better off for that. So we're both
Wow.
lucky. So yeah, that's the one creature I spend the most time with because she just lives here at the Krav Maga school all the time. This is her
Right.
place. The rest of us are
Right.
just guests.
I love that story. Amazing story. And you're doing phenomenal things in the community as well. I know you've been giving demonstrations in the community. You've been to elderly homes. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, in 2024, I believe you also received the Best Business Award for Fort Lauderdale, something to that effect. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Right. So the category was specifically self-defense schools in
Mhm.
the greater Fort Lauderdale area. So for the last 2 years, we were selected as the best self-defense school. So for 2023 and 2024. So it's kind of nice to get acknowledged and recognized when you're putting in hard work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, look, I've trained with you for a short period of time, and you are, and you still are, an amazing individual, but you are also just an amazing instructor, but a very powerful leader as well. This season, I'm talking to industry leaders, specifically in those industries that people will overlook leadership. People don't normally look at the martial arts industry as somewhere that you can look at leaders or the potential of leaders or people demonstrating leadership abilities when it comes to whether it's an instructor like yourself or a sensei, depending if you train in karate. That's why I wanted to highlight certain industries and your name. I mean, just remembering your philosophies, your teaching, and your demonstration of leadership, your leadership skills when I trained with you was just impeccable. So I said, I got to call you and I got to bring you on the show to talk to us about your leadership philosophies. Because most of the time, when people think of leadership, they think of children and children only. But you have primarily adults. I think you just started a children's Krav Maga school as well, or classes for children. And I really want you to talk about your leadership skills within the school. But before we get to that, let me ask you because I'm still interested. What first sparked your interest in martial arts? Was there a specific moment or influence? And I know you went a little bit into your background and the history, but I want to learn a little bit more about that before we start talking about leadership, if you don't mind.
No, it's nothing complicated. I mean, between my dad and my older brother starting Taekwondo, being the youngest one in the family, you just kind of tag along and follow along, and people put up with you. We're talking about early '80s, so back then kids didn't really do karate or Taekwondo. That didn't really become a thing until the original Karate Kid movie came out, and then all of a sudden, you start seeing kids flooding these karate schools and kind of thing. Back then, it was mostly just younger adults, maybe a few teens mixed in. Like when I first started, there was no kids in the class. I was the youngest at 5. My brother was the second youngest. He was 11, and there was just a room full of like maybe a few teens and a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds in the class. That's just what the demographic was back then. And so I'm amazed they even put up with me. So I just crawled in the back of the classroom. I didn't even know the difference between left and right. And I just was a copycat. I don't know what left foot is or diagonal angles or position your feet shoulder width. I'm just copying along as best I can. And people were nice enough to put up with me. And I just try to behave myself and not be a nuisance. And I just stuck with it ever since.
Wow. Wow. I appreciate that. And you also mentioned the Karate Kid, the movie. And what stuck out almost immediately after you said that, because we're talking about leadership as it relates to self defense or martial arts. Mr. Miyagi, he demonstrated servant leadership in the movie. How? Because he elevated Daniel's son. He put Daniel's son's needs before his own. He mentored Daniel's son. Mr. Miyagi had high emotional intelligence. He understood how to manage and regulate his emotions. He respected people. He showed empathy to Daniel's son as well. That's why he took Daniel's son under his wings and started mentoring Daniel's son. And he also instilled certain values and like honor, discipline, and self-control, once again relative to emotional intelligence. And he showed a sense of calm and balance, a certain approach to life. And so when you think of self-defense and even the movie The Karate Kid, you can glean a lot of leadership potential from that as well. So I appreciate you even mentioning that also.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at it was a great backstory. I mean, you basically have the new kid in town. They don't no mention of having a father figure.
Right.
And so that was a tough spot for him to be in. And basically Miyagi filled all those gaps for him. And it was good for both of them. Kind of the same thing. I think kind of like I was just talking about Shadow and I think Mr. Miyagi needed that in his life as well, because he had some things missing in his life as well. So they both benefited from that relationship.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So for those unfamiliar with Krav Maga, how would you describe Krav Maga? What exactly is Krav Maga?
So Krav Maga is the official hand-to-hand combat system they teach the Israel Defense Forces. So over in Israel, everybody has to serve in the military for, I believe, a minimum 2 years. So that includes men and women. If war breaks out, people get called back, and they could be, well into their late 30s, 40s. They might still get called back for service. So they had to come up with a effective system that works for everyone: men, women, big people, short people, younger people haven't trained in a while. Maybe they got a little older, not staying in shape. So they had to come up with a system that was effective and straight to the point. So basically, Krav Maga is not really a martial art. It's more of a self-defense system without all the formalities of martial arts. So we don't wear uniforms. We don't have katas. We don't bow. We don't call sensei or last names. Everybody just calls me Randall. So it's a little more informal and more bare bones and to the point.
Excellent. And what's the history of Krav Maga?
So it was founded by a gentleman named Emi Lichtenfeld, and his father was, I believe, a police detective, and this is somewhere in Europe. And so this is pre-World War II, so like in the 1930s. So the Jewish population was starting to get persecuted, so they had to basically learn how to defend themselves. And Emi, with his background, he was an exceptional athlete. He had a boxing, a wrestling background. He was a gymnast. I mean, just a very ultra talented person. And then with his father also being a police detective, he had that background as well. So he basically came up with an effective system that he could share with others so they could be able to protect themselves. And then when Israel was created after World War II, I believe in 1948, he was selected to create that hand-to-hand combat system, make it official for the Israel military. And that's kind of where it started. And now it's spread out and taught to not just the military, but for civilians who want to learn an effective self-defense system, as well as police officers. A lot of law enforcement agencies integrated as well for them. So that's kind of the origins for Krav Maga.
Excellent. Excellent. And not all schools, Krav Maga schools, are created equally. I've toured many schools. I've been to a lot of different Krav Maga schools, and I could tell you, not all schools are created equally, and I'll leave it like that. But I do know for a fact that anyone who goes to your school, and I'm not just saying that because I've trained on you, I'm not saying that because you're on the show. I honestly and sincerely mean it, that when people go to your school, they're going to learn authentic Krav Maga, and they are going to be well prepared to defend themselves, for sure. And that's why I also feel, don't get upset with me, that everyone shouldn't train in Krav Maga, because some of the things that you actually learn. Because Krav Maga is for good, not for bad.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Of course. No, I mean that. So let me ask you, how has your martial arts journey shaped your development as a leader?
Well, just becoming an instructor you basically become a leader. You have to lead a group of people, a group of students. And for me, it started when I was even 9 years old. My father would make me, he didn't really ask me, he would make me when a new person come in, even including adults, teach them the basics of Taekwondo. So he might be starting the class, someone who's brand new. I had to teach them the basic stances, the basic punches, basic movements. And I'm 9 years old. I don't even know what I'm doing. I was a black belt at that time in Taekwondo already. So basically I was just like a tape recorder. Whatever my father said, I just repeated that back to the person, even though I didn't know necessarily all the nuances of it. But that was my initial exposure to basically being a leader, how to teach someone else. And then he would make me lead the warm-ups every class, even at 9 years old, in front of everyone, including adults. And so you just learn how to perform in front of other people. And that's one of people's biggest fears, is just public speaking. And I had to get that out of my system real quick. So that was kind of my start as being a leader, is just from a teaching standpoint. And really, for me, leadership's all about leading by example. So nobody's going to listen to you if you can't back up what you say. So if you're telling people, hey, this is what you need to do to be able to defend yourself, to be able to fight, and you can't do it yourself, or you're telling people, oh yeah, you'll get in great shape doing this, and then you're looking all slovenly and out of shape yourself, nobody's going to respect you. So I found a lot of it's just leading by example. You just have to back up what you say, do what you say what you mean. For me, that's the kind of the foundation for good leadership.
All right, I appreciate that. And you also made a very important connection as it relates to leadership. You talked about public speaking, which is also important. You said that a lot of people fear public speaking, which is interesting. People fear public speaking for different reasons. I don't want to go off on a tangent as talking about public speaking, but as long as I've known you, and even today on the show, you come across as a professional speaker. I mean, you've never spoke with filler words. Your words seem to flow very well, very nicely, and you're powerful in your approach as well. So have you developed yourself in public speaking outside of just training, being that 9-year-old black belt?
Well, probably the biggest benefit I got from starting as Taekwondo is my original martial art. I don't teach Taekwondo anymore because it's, in my opinion, it's not necessarily the most effective style for practical reality-based self-defense. But what I do appreciate being in Taekwondo, the organization I was affiliated with at the time, the American Taekwondo Association, had an incredible instructor program. And the foundation of their instructor program for their instructors is what they call the TED and class management skills. So things like how to set the mood and tone of the class, positive reinforcement, setting direct goals, etc. Those are the foundational skills I learned how to be an effective leader, how to articulate myself and present myself. And then, we're talking about, I've been teaching full time since I was 17. I'm 48 now. So you add 31 years of just public speaking on top of that. So I would hope I would be halfway decent at it by now, or I'm hopeless. You know what I mean? So it's like anything else. You do it. I guesstimate I've probably done at least 20,000, 25,000 hours worth of teaching by now. So I would hope I could explain something halfway decent by now. So I think a lot of that was just not only good foundational skills, but like most things, you just got to put in the work. You gotta do it.
Right. Appreciate that. And you're a man of little words, and you don't have to say much. To me, you always came across as a quiet leader. You spoke with specificity. You demonstrated the technique, and then we were able to execute without any problem. That's because that was actually a credit to your teaching and leadership abilities and your public speaking skills, being able to convey and articulate the techniques that you wanted us to perform. So I credit you on that as well. Truly, truly. Now, you also mentioned something that's interesting, the leadership development program. You didn't say it exactly like that, but essentially that's what it was, a leadership development program within the martial arts industry. So how does Krav Maga Worldwide promote leadership development within its programs?
I don't necessarily know if they have a leadership program per se for the students, but the organization I'm affiliated with, Krav Maga Worldwide, has a very strict standards and requirements for their instructors, even just to be able to teach the most basic level, what we call level 1 in our Krav Maga Worldwide curriculum. It's a full week of really intense training, and not just your ability to physically present the material, but they have a very specific template for how they want you to present the material, where they found to be in a very effective way. We have to follow that template very specifically. So that has a lot to do with our ability to, kind of how you explained how I was very direct and to the point. Well, a lot of that comes from Krav Maga Worldwide's instructor training program as well. I have to give him credit for that, a lot of that.
Do you have any co-instructors at your facility?
I do. We currently have one, two, three, four, fifth one coming back. So yeah, we have a small team, about four instructors under me right now, and a fifth one's coming back. She's currently she's a professional boxer. She's actually getting some matches over in Thailand right now, but she plans
Oh,
on coming back in June. And yeah, she congratulates her. She just won her last match. Her goal was she was having trouble getting fights here in the U.S. just because the women's boxing community is, it's limited. So we're over in Thailand. Everybody wants to fight. So she finally got her top 10 world ranking. She'll be coming
wow.
back to, keep working on a career, try to get some bigger fights here in the U.S. But thankfully, she also has a Krav Maga background. So we're lucky to have her come in. She teaches boxing, kickboxing classes here, and it helps that she has that Krav Maga background as well. So that's kind of our current team right now. We have a good team. I'm very fortunate to have some good people here.
Excellent, excellent. And I know a couple of them, I believe. Is Kim still with you?
Yeah, Kim's still here. Yeah, she's been around forever. So yeah, you definitely remember Kim, Monica.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
is
Monica with
awesome.
that devastating spinning back fist.
Oh yeah, yeah. So and then yeah, I don't think you know the other ones, but yeah, from
Yeah,
back when you were training, yeah, they're
yeah.
still around.
All right, excellent, awesome. And so let me ask you, do you have any leadership training programs for your school specifically when you train your co-instructors?
I use a lot of those same teaching skills that I was taught, very specifically with the American Taekwondo Association. I have them use that a lot. Like you mentioned, we just started a kids program. I used to teach kids full time, but when I moved out here 15 years ago, I didn't want to teach kids anymore. It kind of burned me out. I don't have any regrets about teaching kids. I tell people it's just like you love your children more than anything. Doesn't necessarily mean you want another one. So I got to a certain point where like, okay, I've taught kids full time for 15 plus years. I don't want to do it anymore, but I'll be happy to mentor someone under me if they want to teach kids. And we have a really talented young lady, Grace, who just graduated from Florida State. So she's agreed to start the kids program. It's doing well. But with her, I show her a lot of those same teaching skills that I was taught to give her a format or a template to work from so that she can work with those kids. Because, well, anybody who's a parent knows that, kids, they don't care how tough you are, how bad you are. They'll run right through you if you don't know how to speak with them and set clear boundaries. And you know what I mean?
Right,
Anybody's got a parent knows what I'm talking about.
right. I appreciate that. In what ways can children build leadership skills?
Well, for our particular program, we actually have a curriculum that's part of that. So each lesson we do what we nickname a mat chat. So right now we're focusing on self-discipline. So that could be usually every lesson, not just the physical techniques, but we'll do maybe a quick explanation of what that self-discipline is, maybe a story that kind of gives an example of what that is. And then we try to tie in a drill as part of the class, an actual physical drill that emphasizes that particular topic. So in this case, self-discipline. But we cycle through every couple months a different life skill or leadership skill. That could be discipline, focus, goal setting, respect, esteem, etc. Especially for kids, really, we all as adults we could use reminders ourselves of it, but especially kids, they need to be taught how to be a good person. So I think that's the most important skill that you could teach a young student. Is yeah, the fighting back part is important just in case it does happen. But what I found, if you give them good high character development, teach them how to be a really good human being, they're probably not going to get in a lot of bad situations in the first place. They're going to know how to speak up for themselves. They're going to know how to be confident. They're going to also have a good character, so they're not necessarily being a jerk or picking on people either. So just teach them to be a good human being. They're going to have success not just from a self-defense standpoint, but just for everything in life. So for us, and at least in our kids programs, that's a huge part of our curriculum.
Wow, excellent, excellent. So yeah, if you train children how to become leaders and develop them into becoming leaders at an early age, that actually can carry over into adulthood and also into their professions as well as their homes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just like most things, the sooner you can start a kid on the right path for anything, the easier it is for them to pick it up.
Excellent. I love it. So what do you believe is the greatest leadership challenge facing martial arts instructors today?
Hmm. That's interesting. What would you classify exactly like a leadership challenge. Can you give me some examples? Because obviously, like with anybody who's self-employed, there's numerous challenges, but what would
Right.
you classify specifically as a leadership challenge?
Well, you mentioned earlier that you have to, if you're a leader, you have to demonstrate or exhibit great leadership skills, because if not, if you're trying to lead other people, they're not going to take you seriously, or they're just not going to follow you. That's one example. And you talked about that earlier today. Another example would simply be a challenge in terms of how you develop your instructors, your co-instructors, how you're actually facilitating your classes specifically, and how you are imparting leadership skills within the training and the development and the curricula, I should say, also within your students.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that helps a lot. I would say probably one of the biggest problems, specifically for martial artists that are that own their schools, is to kind of backtrack what I was saying. They need to lead by example. A real common problem with a lot of career martial artists, including myself, is we don't always get in enough training for ourselves. We're not always growing ourselves because we're so busy doing the day-to-day of everything. After all the classes we teach, all the administrative work you got to do, there's not a lot of time left for maybe your own training. So that's something we have to force ourselves to stay on top of our own game, to keep learning, keep growing, but also stay in shape. So once again, we're setting a good example for our instructors under us, for our students under us. So I've have to be really cognizant of devoting some time just to try to squeeze it into my own personal development. And then with your staff, that's tricky because you definitely need a good system in place, but we have to remember that each one of those instructors, or in my case, staff members under me, they're also unique individuals with all their own unique goals too. So I have to treat them all a little differently to a certain degree. There's no favoritisms, but we have to remember they're each individual people. So they're all going
Right.
to have their own buttons and their own goals. And I have to, yeah, we have the greater goal of having the school grow, the students benefit, but I have to also be cognizant of what are their own personal goals, what do they want to accomplish, and tailor their what they do to match those goals as well. It's not just about me. It's not just about the students. Although the students are priority number one, I have to factor in what their personal goals are and orient that towards them. And they all have their own unique personalities. They all get pushed by certain buttons, so you have to treat them to a certain degree all a little differently. And that's just, you say that about treating human beings in general that way.
That was awesome. Serving, empathy, self-care, and situational leadership. I love it. Based on your experience, what solutions or improvements could help elevate leadership standards across the martial arts industry?
Hmm. I would. That's an interesting question. I would say the biggest issue I found in the professional martial art industry is too much bickering and fighting and squabbling. Everybody thinks their style is the best, their way to do it is the best, and I really wish sometimes people just shut up and just listen to other people, because not one person, not one style, not one organization has all the answers or all the solutions. Everybody has bits and pieces to the solution. So our job is to learn from each other and try to get along. One thing I really like about mixed martial arts, or anybody's a UFC fan, is yeah, we kind of know the standard stuff. It's boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling. But how you mix and match that all together, what you want to focus on, it could be entirely different. You have somebody who's a heavy striker, somebody who's a heavy grappler. You can't say what they're doing is wrong if it works, if they're winning all the time. And what I love about MMA, it's a total copycat sport. If somebody starts making something work, there's nothing new under the sun. There's no new techniques, but there's maybe a new twist on how to set something up, or a new little tweak on something. Now all of a sudden everybody starts doing it and they copy from each other. And the cool thing about mixed martial arts is it just keeps evolving because of that. And I would wish I would see that more in general with the martial arts industry, especially the reality-based self-defense industry. Everybody thinks their way is the best. That won't work, blah, blah, blah. And they don't realize that technically everybody's got solutions, but maybe it more works for their particular style or their body type. So I wish people would be, in general, more open-minded and receptive to each other and try to network a little bit more and learn from each other instead of just squabbling and pointing fingers at each other. I don't know, I don't know if that'll ever happen because it's human nature, but I wish I would see that more.
Excellent. What's the one takeaway as it relates to leadership in martial arts or self defense for our listeners today?
Leadership for martial arts and self-defense. You talking about more from a business standpoint or like the actual
it can be
physical aspect, or
it can be anything. Anything that you feel is like the most prevalent, the most important that leaders within the martial arts and or self-defense industry must know above anything and all else.
Wow. That's a good question. I don't know if I know the answer right off the top of my head. I think ultimately it's not necessarily specific to the martial arts or self-defense industry. I think ultimately to be successful in anything, it just comes down to just putting in the work. You got to put in the work. I wish there was some magic formula or potion, but you just got to get up early and put in the work. Don't just work hard, but work smart. I wish there was some other magic formula, but there really isn't. I wish I could say something more wise than that, but I just found like every day that alarm goes off, just get up, get the work done. And then you always feel good at the end of the day. You always do at the end of the day. If you bust your butt, put in a good day's worth of work, you always feel happy at the end of the day. You feel satisfied. And for me, I think that's what it comes down to. I don't wish I could give you a better answer, but that's all I got for you.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And I've learned something from that too, because as you know, I'm a retired federal law enforcement agent, and sometimes that the alarm clock goes off, and I'll hit the snooze button 2-3 times, and I'm like, and sometimes I just listen. I'm in bed, and I just have my eyes closed, and I'm not asleep, and I just want to be lazy. Another part of me that's saying, no, you need to get up. You need to get up. So now, if I try to hit that snooze button, all I'm going to be thinking about is what Randall said. Just get up. Just get up.
What I found too is nothing wrong with being lazy, but put in the work first, and then you enjoy your laziness a lot more. Mm-hmm. If you just are just lazy all day, you feel guilty about it. I always feel kind of like, ugh, I didn't do anything. But if I get off my butt, like, okay, what are the most important and challenging things? Can I just get that out of the way now as soon as possible? And then the rest of the day just gets easier and easier. And by the time you get to the evening, if you want to be lazy and watch that TV show or watch too much Netflix, you can do it and be satisfied because you already know you deserved it. You earned it. You earned that reward.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Excellent. Excellent words of advice. I appreciate that. And I don't even get a chance to watch TV anyway. I don't even have it because sometimes I work 19 hours a day. And it's like, by the time I go to bed, I'm so wired because I enjoy doing what it is that I do that I'm so wired, and it still takes me several hours just to wind down. So I have to train, my mind and meditate a little bit and just stay still and calm, keep all the lights off. So yeah, it's a process. I agree. So I appreciate that. So how can aspiring leaders connect with you, visit your academy, or begin their training under your leadership?
Go visit my website, KravMagaTraining.com, and that's where all the information is. Got links to all the social media pages. Easy to contact me through that site, and anything I can do to help people out, I'm here for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Randall, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today about leading in the martial arts and self-defense industry. It has been truly my pleasure and honor talking with you today. And I thank you.
Thanks for having me. It's great to connect with you again.
Absolutely. I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here. To our listeners, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast and tune in every Thursday for fresh content. For more information about this podcast, books, workshops, and training programs, be sure to visit my website at www.drhspeaks.com. That's drhspeaks.com. I also want to take this opportunity to thank you for your support in making this podcast possible. It is always a pleasure having you as part of the family. Until the next time, be well, God bless, and lead on.